Come along as we follow the rule of threes when Future Ash sets out to join three Necronomicons together as the last step to getting home. Maybe he doesn't quite get home. We're going to talk about it right here in our review of Army of Darkness Forever number 8 by Dynamite Comics. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Army of Darkness Forever number 8 from Dynamite Comics. Let's take about 60 seconds or less to recap what happened in the previous issue, number 7. Future Ash completed his quest to assemble the Necronomicon pages and read the spell to send him back in time. Of course, nothing works out the way it's supposed to. We find out that it was all a dupe by the Wise Man, who tricked Ash into assembling the book to read the spell that turned the book into a demon baby. And now Evil Ash is trying to desperately figure out what to do, and the Wise Man has gone. And we now find out that the Wise Man was really a turncoat, if you will, in service to Evil Ash back in the past. And now Future Ash has to find a new path forward. That brings us to Army of Darkness Forever number 8. Future Ash now knows that there are 3 Necronomicons, and he gets this from the robot servants that have been trailing him, from little bits of data files left over by the Wise Man's holographic spirit, which is now gone. The 3 are the demon baby, which he just converted from the spell. The second is one that creates portals, presumably the one that created the portals that sent him back in time, and vice versa. And the third one is the book that flies around and is very bitey, as he describes it. Future Ash talks to the robots to gather the information and figure out, okay, what do we got to do? And the little bits of data that they have left say, if you get the 3 books together, they will combine and they will, as the saying goes, return everything to where it should be. Then we cut back to present Ash in 1993, as he's now been possessed by the spirit of Evil Ash. So it's present Ash infused with Evil Ash, if that makes sense. And he started a deadite apocalypse that's raging across the planet. And in this moment, we see that he and his deadite forces have arrived at the gates of the warehouse, the White House, and they're taking it over. And the scene concludes with the White House in flames and presumably the world in apocalyptic chaos. Then we cut back to Future Ash, who now finds the bitey Necronomicon chained up in the middle of a cemetery, and the book is guarded by a small army of deadite witches, kind of like the ones you would see at the end of Army of Darkness when he's returned to Esmart. He gets out his chainsaw, slicing and dicing. Eventually, he gets worn out, but all the deadite witches are dispatched with, and he grabs the book. But it's like trying to get your hands on a rabid dog that just doesn't want to be held. It's constantly biting him, giving him trouble. He's trying to make his way to the next destination, but now he has 2 of the 3 books. Future Ash's robot servants find that the location of the 3rd Necronomicon, which is the Portal Necronomicon, is located in a vault or cave system in the sewers several hundred meters down below London. He's kind of annoyed because he was just in London not too long ago, but there we go. They fly over to London. They go down in the sewers. It stinks. It's a mess. Baby Necronomicon is being a baby, and bitey Necronomicon is being bitey, and it's very annoying, but he gets through the sewer system and he finds the relative location of the books, and the last one, the Portal Necronomicon, and it's surrounded by robot deadites. I believe we temporarily call them creepers. More slicing and dicing occurs, and Future Ash eventually clears out all the NPCs. He gets his hand on the book, and now the 3 books start to come together. And suddenly, out of the blue, a gigantic portal appears and sucks them all into parts unknown. And that brings us to the last scene of the book, where we find Lady Sheila confronting the Wise Man when he was still alive, with a sword saying, "You did all this. You have betrayed us. You are in service to Evil Ash. You're trying to destroy everything." He laughs off her attack, but she's enraged and she charges at him with the sword. And he says, wait a minute. Don't get yourself all hot and bothered. Why don't you come join us instead of fighting us? It'd be better for you. And she's like, no way. I've got nothing left to lose. And he says, well, wait a minute. We can do something about that. And the Wise Man and Evil Ash resurrect her dead brother. But unfortunately, he's more like a zombie dead brother resurrected instead of just being resurrected in his regular human form. She's disgusted and saddened and horrified and outraged. And she leaps to destroy the thing, which is an abomination in her eyes. And he strikes back, and unfortunately it deals a very damaging blow. It's kind of a big twist. We're not going to spoil it here, but it has a potential for a big status quo change for Lady Sheila. So let's switch over to the technical assessment, starting with the character development. As much as this issue is almost entirely about future Ash, the one piece of character work that seems potentially the most exciting is the status quo change for Lady Sheila. Something happens to her. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty big twist. And when it happens, you can see that there's, I would say, parallels to Ash, and that's about as much as we're going to hint it. And there's a lot of potential for what's going to happen next, potentially as a romantic relationship if Ash ever goes back in the past again, or at least bringing Lady Sheila forward in a, not necessarily as a colleague or a cohort of Ash, but just something similar. So there's a lot of potential excitement, even, or at the very least, intrigue for Lady Sheila. Ash is just being Ash, so his character is pretty consistent, but there's not a lot of character growth there. Switching over to the art, this is the second issue. Mhan stepped up to take over the issue, and it looks pretty darn good. You got a lot of great action that's happening in this issue. There's a lot of pop, a lot of the interesting visuals, a lot of playing around with the panel layouts to give the page some more distinctiveness, and the line of sight angles that are in the panels are kind of off kilter and taking interesting or unusual angles to give you a lot of visual interest. Plus, you have Brad Anderson on coloring, and the coloring is fantastic in this issue. So, on all accounts, Mhan stepping in to take on art duties has really done a lot to elevate this issue and make it more visually interesting. Let's move over to pacing and structure. Tony Fleecs nails the pacing. There's a lot of action. The scenes move quickly. It feels like all the scenes are additive to the main plot, and Ash is on a very sequential or linear quest to put all the books together and do the thing, whatever is going to happen next. So you feel like all the scenes are supportive. You don't have a lot of fluff, and no scene lingers too long than what it needs to do. This is a very tight script, which is tighter than what we've seen from Tony Fleecs in this series, so that looks good. Regarding the structure of the plot, the one sore spot, and we've picked on this before on previous issues, is now you have three timelines. Two now are tied together by the Wise Man in the past and in the future. The Wise Man is the link that bridges those two timelines together. But the middle one, which is 1993 present, still feels like it's just out of nowhere and doesn't seem to connect to anything. Things are happening, sure, but there's no cohesion between the past, the present, and the future. Past and future connect, the present does not, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. You sort of get the impression that Tony Fleecs said, "Hey, let's do this thing where we're talking about past, present, and future," and that present part just didn't get fully formed. That it needed more time in the oven to kind of flesh out and really come to something, because it just sort of sticks out like a sore thumb, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere or doing anything that matters. Thematically, it's not immediately clear or overtly obvious, but the overarching theme seems to be the concept of returning home, or what it means to go back to what was familiar. Everything that Future Ash is trying to do is to bring the Necronomicons together so he can get through a portal and go back home. And then Lady Sheila in the past is trying to return to her home to a sense of normalcy by defeating the Wise Man and any Deadites, and maybe the return of Evil Ash. And then when the Wise Man resurrects her brother, it's sort of taunting her with the concept of going back, but the idea of going back is now tainted or corrupted in some way. So in a roundabout way, the overarching theme is going home or returning to what was before, even though it doesn't always quite work out for the good or the better, depending on which storyline you're in. Now, if you're a new reader to the series and you're picking up this issue cold, you want to know where does this fit in with the original Sam Raimi films. It is a direct continuation of the 1993 film Army of Darkness, and takes it in kind of a slightly different direction. But it's all the same characters, all the same people, all the same concept are there. It has no tie to the Ash versus the Evil Dead television series. It fits in timeline-wise. It probably fits, in between the films and the television series if you had to pick a spot. But it also has no tie that we can see to the recent Evil Dead remakes. So if you're looking for a connection or an anchor point, it's the 1993 film and on forward. Final thoughts. What do we think about Army of Darkness Forever number 8 from Dynamite Comics? We get Future Ash, who's going on a globetrotting quest to assemble the Necronomicons. It's a fast-paced issue. It's an action-packed issue. Tony Fleecs has turned in a pretty tight script, tighter than we've seen in recent months. And Mhan's art looks good to very good to great. So generally speaking, very pleased with this overall. If anything takes away from the points, it's because you still have that 1993 timeline that just feels really disconnected from everything else and is not cohesively part of the script, and it feels like it just is sitting there waiting to be dealt with, which is a bummer. Therefore, we're going to give Army of Darkness Forever number 8 a 7.8 out of 10. Let us know what you think in the comics section. Are you enjoying this series? Do you like Army of Darkness comics that have come out from Dynamite? Or would you prefer they go in a different direction? There seems to be a lot of sci-fi stuff that have been happening in the series lately and other miniseries spin-offs. Let us know in the comment section what you think. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned to the outro for the next review.